A Hunter's Fury build compendium. Gotta get in camera. Right, Hunter's Fury, probably my favourite gear set of them all. It is incredibly powerful. It offers actually one of the best builds in the game, if not the best build, like in terms of like math and capability. Probably holds the most world records, as well as the fact that it is ridiculously survivable in combination with its CC, armor on kill, as well as health on kill. You literally have 3 mechanics to keep you alive using this set. It's absolutely outrageous how strong this set actually is. And one thing I want to get out straight away, you do not need any blue cores on Hunter's Fury. You just don't. The way in which it works, you really don't. You also don't necessarily need more damage, so if you really want, get yourself like an SMG with preservation on, just to get yourself some more armor regen. That would do way better than starting to add in any form of blue cores. That being said, if you still don't believe me and you absolutely must have blue cores, try and limit it to either NinjaBike, Memento, or if you're not using those two, just 2 blue cores. Just 2. It's probably the best advice I can give you, simply just because the way in which armor on kill works, obviously you get the kill, you then restore armor. It is amazing what actually will give you armor on kill. At the point that I'm in the video with the footage in the background, you should see that at some point I start shooting those lovely little things that I'm meant to destroy behind me, and even that will generate armor on kill. It's absolutely bizarre. So you really don't actually need it. Just kill more things, and the easiest way to kill things is more damage. Now we're going to be starting off with some Hunter Fury builds utilising NinjaBike Backpack. I would recommend only really using these in solo play, and all builds are going to be using Dark Winter with Perfect Killer active, so please do make sure you take that into account. So if you're not seeing those numbers, it's because Perfect Killer. So first build is 3-piece Hunter's Fury, NinjaBike Backpack, a Walker and Harris piece, and a Sokolov piece. Walker and Harris will give us 5% weapon damage, 5% damage to armor. Sokolov will give us 10% SMG and 13% critical hit damage. This has got good damage with good survivability. Up next, leaning more towards the survivability, we're going to swap out the Walker and Harris and Sokolov with Palisade and Bellstone. This gives us in total 40% armor on kill, 1% armor regen, an extra 60% health. Yeah, it's just really survivable. If we don't want all of that survivability and want a bit more damage, going for 1-piece Bellstone and 1-piece Sokolov for getting that 1% armor regen, another 10% armor on kill, which is now 30% in total. We can also get some extra SMG and critical hit damage in there from the Sokolov piece. However, if you're an absolute mad lad and like running around with a shield, you can go with a Sokolov piece and a Picaro's piece. This will give you a skill tier 4 shield, so that you're able to utilize the shield and get a bit more up in your face, and then utilizing Sokolov for the SMG damage as well as the critical hit damage. You're able to get up in their face and actually do some decent-ish damage, which is all well and good. And just because we like spreadsheets here, let's have a look at the spreadsheets. Now, like I said, the first build, Ninja 1 with the Sokolov and Walker and Harris piece, is going to be the more damaging because it has that extra multiplier, the damage to armor. And hopefully you'll understand that the second build with both Palisade and Bellstone is going to be the weakest of them, simply because it focuses more on defense rather than offense, but we still have some pretty decent DPS. The third build with the mix of Bellstone and Sokolov is doing okay, and the build utilizing Picaro's is actually doing a bit more than I expected, but that's mostly just because it's basically got like an extra 20% weapon damage for the base of the weapon, which is really going to help it out. Up next is Memento builds. Now, Memento builds are, again, kind of a bit annoying with Hunter's Fury, and I would actually argue extra special annoying, simply just because Hunter's Fury works on kill. Its Disorient is on kill. Its armor on kill is on kill. Its health on kill is on kill. And a good chunk of its damage, 33% of it, is on kill. adding in Memento is just another on-kill mechanic, which makes it incredibly infuriating in a group. Now, I'm not saying you can't use it in a group. I just don't recommend it, because I guarantee there's someone to go, I use Hunter's Fury Memento in a group all the time. It works fine. That's you. Most people will struggle with on-kill talents in a group. So up first, 4-piece strikers, Memento, and then a Cheska, which is probably what the go-to standard would be, and I would recommend, simply because you're not always going to be using an SMG with the extra 21% crit chance on the weapon. However, just in case, the next variant, really simple, is going to be Grupo, and then Sokolov. That basically covers all of the damage that we could get. So what would the fourth be? Palisade, for another 10% armor on kill. Now, I'm pretty sure we can all bet, considering it's the one that isn't a damage-orientated piece, the Palisade is going to be the weakest. But did anyone guess, anyone at all, that the strongest would actually be Memento 3, which is Sokolov? Or at the very least until you start adding expertise into it, in which case Sokolov loses to Grupo by like 0.5%. Welcome to returns by scale, yay! And the astute among you might also realise that none of these are actually as powerful as the first NinjaBike backpack build with Sokolov and Walker Harris, and that is simply just because of that 5% damage to armor. So please bear in mind before you start running around going, NinjaBike is stronger than Memento, bloody bloody blah. That is only against armor and that one specific build. You have to remember what else Memento gives: the skill efficiency, the armor regen, or the bonus armor thing on pickup. It also has the capacity to add another 30% weapon damage to you on pickup of the actual trophy itself. Which, if we factor that in, well, it looks like this. We're now doing a good 6% more than what that previous NinjaBike backpack with Walker Harris and Sokolov was doing in the first place. So there are going to be a bunch of caveats to this, and it's simply because of the build-up nature of Memento that makes it kind of annoying, and also why I wouldn't recommend it in group play. Now we get into the big boys, so we're going to be starting off with Intimidate, utilising Memento and a Cheska piece. Yes, I'm aware of the arguments against using Memento. However, it's actually one of the more damaging ones when using Intimidate. Or we can do Intimidate, Bloodsucker with Cheska Grupo, or Cheska Sokolov. Or if you are that way inclined, going Adrenaline Rush with the 2-piece Walker Harris, which I will also be addressing. It's up to you on what we want to do. However, let's have a look at the math. So hopefully we can see here that the first build, utilising Memento, does have the highest DPS when utilising Intimidate. It's simply because we are getting damage from the backpack. Whereas with the other 3 builds, the backpack is there simply just to proc Intimidate in the first place. That being said, utilising Memento for Intimidate can be really, really annoying. So I would actually advise going for one of the other 3, but the choice is entirely up to you. I want to do a quick segue here, mostly just to discuss why, although Sokolov is potentially better, why I suggest utilising a Cheska piece. And the simple answer is, utilising crit on a lot of these builds with an SMG, you are incredibly, and I do mean incredibly, crit starved on your secondary or your sidearm. Obviously, we're not always going to be wanting or can use these. However, having the option there is better than nothing. It's a lot like having a condom. You'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So utilising a Cheska piece is something I do actively recommend, even if you don't necessarily need it on the SMG side, and it is just simply because SMGs come with 21% critical hit chance on them by default. Utilising a build of like Cheska Grupo with 4-piece Hunter's Fury on an SMG build, if we swap to our secondary weapon, depending on what it is, if we just look at something that would be like an AR, even putting all 3 attachments to crit chance, we're only able to get to about a 53% crit chance, whereas the SMG itself would be at like 60 potentially, or more. Not that the game will actually equate more, but you can get easily 60% on an SMG, whereas you can't really do that when utilising it with your secondary weapon. It's worse if you have something like a shotgun. As you can see on the build that I'm running in the footage in the background, my secondary weapon is the Tsunami. I have 2 crit attachments on it, and I'm at 48% crit chance on this build. So going for a Cheska piece is generally advisable, because if I remove that Cheska piece and go for like Sokolov Grupo, if I need that shotgun for anything, it's now only at a 40% crit chance rather than at the 48. I would rather have that extra 8% crit chance. So in some of the math that I've provided, going for things like Cheska Grupo haven't necessarily been the strongest, where like Grupo Sokolov would be a stronger option specifically for the SMG. Going Cheska Grupo is generally better, simply just because you're only really dropping like 0.5% damage realistically, but if it ever gets to a point of where you need that secondary weapon, you need it to do something. And if you've got something like Sokolov, 10% SMG damage isn't going to be doing anything on a shotgun or an AR or a rifle, whatever it is you have as your secondary. Even your sidearm, if you need to swap to your sidearm, having the option there to have an immediate damage source, such as something like Cheska Grupo, blah, is going to be overall better for your play. Nearly there, I promise. These final few builds are more DPS and then the Headhunter variant. So this is going to be a straight up DPS one that isn't relying on the perks of Intimidate or having any form of bonus armor. So the best solution for these in terms of survivability is just kill things quicker. So up first, we're going to have our standard Hunter's Fury, Cheska Grupo, Unstoppable Force, Obliterate. I do recommend Unstoppable Force over Vigilance in this regard, specifically with this build. We then also have Cheska Memento, just in case you need a little bit more survivability. And the final one is going back to Cheska Grupo, but this time we're going to be running Glass Cannon and Unstoppable Force, which I actively don't recommend. It is possible. Your damage is insane. However, the overall performance of Hunter's Fury is mostly geared towards run and gun, whereas Glass Cannon is kind of geared towards utilizing cover. It does work. It takes an incredible amount of practice, and while you're trying to learn it, it's just rather infuriating. I find Hunter's Fury one of the most fun and engaging sets to actively use. This weird back and forth between armor, no armor, armor, no armor. Having something like Glass Cannon thrown into the mix just ends up throwing it all out of whack. So this is those builds. Standard one, Cheska Grupo with Unstoppable Obliterate. It's going to be the standard. Putting Memento in does drop us down a fair bit, about 13 to 14%. However, we do get some extra survivability, and obviously Glass Cannon is just going to win. But again, I don't recommend it just because of how it works. Right, the final touch on this video, I think I've kept you here long enough, is going to be what are dubbed the Headhunter Fury builds. Now, there is a plethora of variations that we can do with this. I'm just going to be showing a few. I won't be showing the math for them, because all you need to know is they one-shot everything in the game, except Chungas, in which case they two-shot. One to break the helmet, second one to kill them, unless you know the sweet spot on basically all Chunga variations and where you can one-shot them, but you end up wasting a stack of Headhunter. Now on screen now is pretty much like what the gold standard for this type of build is. Chain Killer with the gift. Perfect Vigilance, perfect Headhunter, 4-piece Hunter's Fury, all rolled to headshot, minus 2 weapon handling rolls. We have 2 M870s and Regulus. The reason we go for M870 is I believe it is still the single hardest hitting shotgun shot for shot, including all of the mods and attachments. So if anyone going the Spaz 12 or the double barrel, I believe is potentially also higher, these have lower mod slots. We need those mod slots in order to hit a certain headshot cap. One is rolled to damage the targets out of cover, as you can see. The other is rolled to headshot. One with Detox has pummel. The one that doesn't have Detox, one with health, has brazen. The reason for this is quite simple. If you run out of ammo on your Regulus, the main weapon you'll be using with this is Regulus. If you run out of ammo on your Regulus, you don't have time to reload. All you've got time to do is switch and quickly mop up general adds. You swap to the one with pummel. Hopefully you'll be one-shotting. There's no need to reload. It's not going to be as effective or as clean as what a Regulus can do, but you haven't got time to reload. If what you're dealing with is a Chunga, damage to health applies multiple times because of how Headhunter works. So you will actually get more damage from damage to health than you would with damage to targets out of cover. And the idea behind this is, with the Headhunter stack, you shoot the Chunga in the head. Headhunter stack is consumed, but you'll now proc Brazen. You'll activate the Brazen talent, so the next shot, regardless of Headhunter stacks, will kill the Chunga. So you've got one that's like, I'm screwed, I'm out of ammo on Regulus, let's quickly mop up, which is damage to targets out of cover and pummel. And the second one is, there's a Chunga in my face, I need rid of him now, which is where health damage and Brazen come into effect. This is typically sort of like the mid-max speedrunnery style strat, but it's also worth doing within general gameplay, or at least getting used to it. The next variant is going full send into the headshot damage with a Providence piece and a Habsburg piece for all of the headshot. It's another 13% headshot damage due to the way in which it's rolled. Overall effect is the same. The first shot is a tiny bit higher because you obviously have more on the headshot, but top end stack is a tiny bit lower. We then have the D&H version with Chain Killer and a Douglas and Harding backpack with Vigilance. This is, as long as you stick to essentially pure Regulus, this does end up being the better option, and you're completely reliant on the Headhunter stacks to actually get any form of damage out of the shotguns whatsoever. And then essentially from here, you're able to just mix and match and slot in what it is you want, depending on the pieces you get, how you get them, or how you personally feel. There is, just for those wondering, also a Memento variant. Change out your chest to Providence, Habsburg, or D&H, depending on what it is you want. The overall effectiveness of the build is perfectly fine. However, this, utilizing Memento, is overall geared towards just playing solo, however. There is also a rather interesting pure shotgun variant of it, which utilizes one of the weirder pieces, and that is the Hunter's Fury backpack. We use Dodge City holster for another 10% weapon handling. We've got our headshot damage, and the idea here is to basically run around with the shotgun, doing what we can with the shotgun, and if we ever come across like a particular area or a problem, we're able to swap to Regulus with Dodge City holster and get that massive one shot off. It's also the fastest at stacking because of the Dodge City holster. And for those people arguing right now in the comments, oh, the Headhunter's Fury backpack is trash, it's really not when used in this way, simply because the range effect of it, as the range of the backpack increases the disorient from 5 meters to 10 meters, you are able to disorient an entire room and then casually just walk around and mop things up with a shotgun. So it really isn't. Though due to the lack of a backpack talent, it does work out being the overall lowest damage of all of them. However, in solo play, it is perfectly, and I do mean perfectly, fine. Anyway, that is going to wrap things up for this video. Hopefully that's enough Hunter's Fury variations for you to sink your teeth into, play around with, and just generally try and figure out a new way to play. In the meantime, however, have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.